On September 13th, 2009, a 19-year-old girl stood on a stage holding the first major award of her career. She was halfway through thanking her fans when a man twice her age walked up, took the microphone out of her hands, and told the world she didn't deserve it. That moment lasted about 30 seconds. The fallout lasted 16 years. And the strangest part isn't what happened on that stage, it's what happened after, because both of them got called the villain, at different times for different reasons, by different crowds. And the way each of them handled that label tells you everything about what the word villain actually does to a person. One of them used it as fuel, then let it go. The other, one couldn't stop wearing it. Same label. Opposite destinations, let's do an icon recall. This is not a video about whether Taylor Swift was right or Kanye West was wrong. This is about what happens when the world decides you're the villain, because that label landed on both of them. And what they each did with it might be the most important lesson hiding inside the biggest celebrity feud of our generation. Let's go back to that stage. September 13th, 2009, MTV Video Music Awards. Taylor Swift, 19 years old, wins Best Female Video for You Belong With Me. She starts her speech genuinely stunned, saying she always dreamed about maybe winning one of these someday. Then Kanye West walks up, takes the microphone, tells her he's happy for her, he'll let her finish, but Beyoncé had one of the best videos of all time. The camera cuts to Taylor. She's standing there holding nothing, looking like someone just stole something from her in front of millions of people. The audience boos. Beyoncé looks uncomfortable. And Taylor doesn't get to finish her speech. The backlash against Kanye was immediate. President Obama, in an off-the-record moment, called him a jackass. Kanye apologized on The Jay Leno Show the next day. Taylor went on The View and described her thought process. "Wow, I can't believe I won. This is awesome. Don't trip and fall. Oh, Kanye West is here. Cool haircut. What are you doing there?" And then, ouch. At this point, the roles are clear. Kanye is the villain, Taylor is the victim. The entire world agrees. That almost never happens in public life. But here's what most people miss about Kanye in that moment. The VMAs wasn't a breakdown, it was a pattern. 3 years earlier, in 2005, Kanye went on live television during a Hurricane Katrina telethon and said George Bush doesn't care about black people. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't planned. It was Kanye deciding in real time that the truth as he saw it was more important than the moment he was standing in. The VMAs interruption ran on the same fuel. Kanye genuinely believed Beyoncé deserved the award. He genuinely believed the industry was wrong. And he genuinely believed that saying so, publicly, at someone else's expense, was more important than the 19-year-old girl standing next to him. That is the pattern that would define his entire career, being right about the point and wrong about the delivery, over and over and over again. But the treadmill wasn't done with either of them. They reconciled. Kanye apologized publicly multiple times. Taylor performed a song called Innocent at the 2010 VMAs that was widely understood as forgiveness. By 2015, they appeared to be friends. Taylor presented Kanye with the Video Vanguard Award at the VMAs, playing off the original incident, telling the crowd she was really happy for them and was going to let them finish. But Kanye West has had one of the greatest careers of all time. But Taylor later told Rolling Stone that during the reconciliation, she felt like she was healing some rejection from when she was 19. She wanted Kanye's respect. She thought she had it. Then, after she presented him with the award, Kanye took the stage and said they'd announced Taylor was going to present because it got them more ratings. Taylor said that was the moment she realized he wanted to be nice behind the scenes, but wanted to look cool in front of everyone else. The friendship was already fracturing before Famous ever dropped. In February 2016, Kanye released Famous. The track referenced the 2009 VMAs and called Taylor a derogatory term. Kanye claimed Taylor had approved the lyrics during a phone call. Taylor's team pushed back, saying she was never told about the specific language that ended up in the song. The full 25-minute phone call wouldn't surface for another 4 years. When it did, it showed that Kanye had read Taylor a different version of the lyric, that Taylor had said she needed to think about it, and that Kanye had promised to send her the finished song before releasing it. According to Taylor's team, he never did. But in July 2016, none of that context existed publicly. What existed was Kim Kardashian going on Snapchat and releasing edited clips of the call that made Taylor look like a liar. The hashtag that followed trended worldwide. Snake emojis flooded Taylor's social media. The narrative flipped completely. Overnight, Taylor went from victim to villain. And the crowd didn't want nuance. The crowd wanted a verdict. Taylor got one. She released a statement that night saying she would very much like to be excluded from this narrative, one that she had never asked to be a part of since 2009. It didn't matter. The internet had decided. This is the moment where the two arcs split. Taylor disappeared. No interviews, no social media, no appearances. For nearly a year, one of the most visible people on the planet went completely silent. In her Netflix documentary, Miss Americana, she said she just wanted to disappear. And then she came back as someone else entirely. In August 2017, Taylor wiped every post from her social media. In their place, she started posting videos of a CGI snake. The thing the internet had used to destroy her was now her opening move. Then came Look What You Made Me Do, the lead single from Reputation. The music video referenced the feud, the phone call, the snake imagery, the entire narrative she'd been trapped inside. But the smartest thing about Reputation wasn't the references, it was the strategy. Taylor didn't come back apologetic, she didn't come back explaining. She came back angry, giant inflatable snakes on tour. Headlines about her cancellation scrolling across arena screens as the show opened. She was performing her own destruction as entertainment. And the Reputation tour grossed over $345 million. Taylor weaponized the villain label. She wore it, she profited from it, and then she did something Kanye never could. She took it off. After Reputation came Lover, lighter, warmer. The snake imagery was gone. Then came Folklore and Evermore, quiet indie albums that had nothing to do with feuds or narratives or celebrity. Then came the re-recordings, where Taylor went back and re-recorded her early albums under her own ownership after her original masters were acquired by an executive with ties to Kanye. She didn't just move past the villain era, she systematically replaced it. Taylor treated the villain label like a tool. She picked it up when it was useful, then put it down when it wasn't. And that's what makes her arc work. The label never became her identity. It was always a costume. And the deeper you look at Kanye's arc, the more the contrast sharpens. Because Kanye embraced the villain label first. Before Reputation, there was Yeezus. Released in 2013, it was an album built on abrasion, harsh, confrontational, deliberately alienating. Kanye wasn't running from the villain narrative the VMAs had given him. He was leaning into it, wearing it, turning it into artistic identity. He would say in interviews that genius is misunderstood, that telling the truth makes people uncomfortable. That the backlash proved he was right. And for a while, that worked. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is widely considered one of the greatest albums ever made, and it was built directly from the shame and isolation of the VMA's fallout. Yeezus pushed the boundaries of what hip-hop could sound like. The life of Pablo was messy and brilliant, and human in a way that felt like watching someone build an album in real time. Kanye was channeling the villain energy into art that justified the disruption. But then the pattern kept going, and it stopped being art. In 2018, Kanye put on a MAGA hat and aligned himself with Donald Trump. In 2020, he ran for president in a campaign that raised more concerns about his mental health than his policy positions. And then came the anti-Semitic statements. Public, repeated, escalating. Adidas severed its partnership with him. Gap dropped him. Balenciaga cut ties. His net worth reportedly dropped by over $1 billion. The man who had once been considered one of the most important artists of his generation was now losing partnerships faster than he could make headlines. And here's the part that connects it all back to that stage in 2009. The same mechanism that made Kanye interrupt Taylor's speech was the same mechanism that made him put on the MAGA hat. It was the same mechanism that made him double down on statements that were costing him everything. The belief that his truth was more important than anyone's comfort, including his own. The provocateur had become the provocation, and unlike Taylor, he couldn't take the costume off because it was never a costume. It was him. Taylor used the villain label as armor, then returned it when the battle was over. Kanye made the villain label load-bearing. He built his entire identity on being the person the world couldn't control, couldn't silence, couldn't cancel. And when that identity started costing him everything, he couldn't walk it back, because walking it back would mean admitting that the world's opinion mattered. And the whole point of being Kanye was that it didn't. That is the tragedy of the comparison. I think about this more than I probably should because I've had a smaller version of it happen to me. Not at that scale. Not even close. But I remember a time when a group of people I trusted decided I was the problem in a situation I didn't start. And the worst part wasn't the accusation. The worst part was watching myself decide how to respond. Because there were two options: go quiet, let it pass, rebuild on the other side, or fight it publicly, correct every detail, make sure everyone knew I was right. I chose the second one. And I can tell you from experience, the more I explained, the worse it got. Every correction sounded defensive. Every defense sounded guilty. I was so focused on being right that I forgot being right doesn't matter if nobody's in a position to hear it. I eventually went quiet, but not before I'd made everything worse by trying to control a story that wasn't mine to control anymore. I was doing the Kanye thing when I should have been doing the Taylor thing. And that's a mistake I only recognized years later. Here's why this matters to you. Most people will never have their phone call leaked, but most people will, at some point, be cast as the villain in a story they didn't write. At work, in a relationship, in their own family. And when that happens, you will face the same fork Taylor and Kanye faced. You can go quiet, let the silence do the work, use the time to build something so undeniable that the old narrative can't compete with it. That is the Taylor path. It is slower, it is lonelier, and it requires the kind of patience that feels like surrender even when it isn't. Or you can fight it, correct every detail, make sure everyone knows you were right, double down on the truth as you see it, regardless of how it lands. That is the Kanye path. It feels powerful, it feels righteous, and it almost always makes things worse. Because the crowd doesn't reward the villain who won't stop talking, it rewards the villain who disappears and comes back transformed. The central question isn't who was right between Taylor and Kanye. The question is what you do after the world decides you're wrong. Taylor learned that you cannot force the crowd to rewrite its story in real time. Kanye learned that being right about the point does not excuse the way you make it. One was trapped by a narrative and built her way out of it. The other created a narrative and got trapped inside it. And both of them spent over a decade living inside what happened in 30 seconds on a stage in 2009. Taylor Swift and Kanye West didn't just teach us about music. They taught us that the most dangerous version of you isn't the one the world invents. It's the one you start believing. If this changed how you see Taylor and Kanye, let me know in the comments. And if there's another icon you want remembered this way, not just for what they achieved, but for what it cost them, drop their name below. This is Recall Icon. Thank you for watching.